and welcome to another Coffee Talk Tuesday. Trip Mitchell, Chalese Stevens.
Hi.
We're having a great time today, and we have another one of your academic suck-up shows. This is pitiful. You can't let your brain and your hard work on alone. You have to invite these professors onto the show.
I do. Well, yeah, because they've helped me so much to get to where I'm at. Why wouldn't I come and let them see what I do live and in person?
I was hoping you weren't going to say help them out by being on the podcast. Like this will now allow you to get tenure. I'm on tenure track. We better do.
He is up for tenure.
Yeah. So anyway, tell us about our guest this week.
All right. Well, this is Ahmad. I'm going to mess up your last name, just even though I just said it. Karah.
Wrong.
He's
okay,
only been
Charlie. My name is Ahmad Karah.
Thank you. You see?
Part of broadcasting is getting the names right. That is.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm not in broadcasting. I'm just in podcasting.
Oh, no. Are you a male or female?
I'm a female.
And what's another word for female? Broad.
Oh.
So you're a female broadcaster. That makes you a broadcaster. That makes you forget the podcast. But anyway, tell me about your professor.
All right. Well, Ahmad, I met him last year actually on a DECA event. We went to nationals in Florida, and he was one of the professors there. And we sat down and started talking about my nonprofit. And it was really... He's got so much knowledge, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on today was to talk about all of the cool things. Well, not all. You can't talk about all of your cool things that you do because that would take forever. But
oh my God, the suck-up factor just went to 11 on a 10 scale.
He's helped start, or are you still a part of all six nonprofits or more?
No. So yeah, I mean, I've helped several nonprofits, but no, I'm mainly helping one nonprofit right now.
Which one is that?
Emerald Project.
What do they do?
They help combat the misrepresentation of Islam.
Mm.
And we fortunately don't have anyone in the presidency who does that. You know, our country is hot, straight, and normal, representing Islam and not having any factual inaccuracies. I mean, from the top down, this country's buttoned up.
Oh yeah. We very well educated on the topic.
We are. Is it tough a lot to be Islamic and to have people, uneducated, idiot Americans, have an immediate prejudice? Was I pigeonholing anyone who wears red caps?
I would say that it can be a challenge, and this is part of what this nonprofit does. So the idea is to educate and to help people understand the differences between politics and Islam and culture, because there are certainly some cultural factors that might not be acceptable to Western society that exist, but many people attribute these to Islamic traditions, and many of these are actually inaccurate. And so the job of this nonprofit is to just help clarify the differences between, like I said, religion, culture, and politics.
I remember during 9/11, I was over in Maui. We had flown over the Sunday before, and our flight that we came out, the subsequent Sunday was the first flight out, and there were some Muslim women who were about to get on the plane, and I felt for them the amount of disdain. It was palpable. And 3 women who were on vacation over in Maui, and they were ostracized. The security was insane. It was an overreaction, but it was just kind of a metaphor for many things that we see in this culture, because we have not done a good job of letting our fellow Muslim neighbors know that they're welcome. And that's a huge, huge deal.
I agree with you. I think that is a big deal for society as a whole. I think that to a certain extent, we do live in a society that loves to pat itself on the back. And in many cases, we have seen people say, no, we're not racist anymore. Look how we treat black people. Not saying that history is repeating itself again, whether it's with, Muslims or some of the other not so cool races that are in this country. It's cool to support LGBTQ. It's cool to support black. It's cool to support women, and so it's cool to support Polynesian. To a certain point, Hispanics were starting to come in, and then the red hats started kind of. But so there are certain diversities that we're a little quick to celebrate, but realistically, we still do have a lot of prejudice in our society, and as long as we have that, it's going to be very difficult for our society to get better.
Well, there's no question, and obviously, it starts at the top. And we have a fair amount of prejudice among the red hats. Do you find that most people are pretty accepting and pretty understanding, or is it, where would you say those numbers are?
I would say people are getting less accepting. I would say that people are becoming a little bit more polarized. I think that the current administration works really hard on keeping things separate and keeping people afraid and scared, because that's the only way to say, you need me, and I'm going to make this better.
And to get their base to come out and vote, there have to be existential threats.
I believe
and
so.
And Muslims, Latins are two of the number ones that our president uses to rally his base.
I agree with you.
And that's got to be so frustrating.
It is frustrating. I don't think that it always needs to start at the top. I think that's part of the reason that we have this nonprofit. Sometimes it is an idea of spreading the awareness of living the example that you want people to understand, and by helping people see what Muslims are, you will help bring the community together. And when the Muslim community, which right now is kind of separated, not too different than blacks were, in even in the 60s, 70s, 80s even. Because it's almost, if you succeed and you're a Muslim, you know that your boss could change and you could get someone who might be prejudiced. You know that, something could happen at any minute that could strip that away from you. And so many Muslims who do succeed kind of tuck away, and they just don't know how long it's going to last. And that is somewhat concerning, because what happens is they don't work on bringing the community together. They try to kind of hide in a shadow somewhere. So that is one of the issues that we experience quite a bit. We also see quite a bit of variations between people, and some pressure. We don't really have enough organized community events, which is something that we're responsible to do for ourselves. But you have people who came here for education, and those are usually middle upper class, and then you have the refugees, and those are usually not within, they don't mix exactly in their home countries. And so you bring them here and you expect them to mix, and that's not exactly the same representation. So you see some of these people saying, well, I'm not really like them, and then the other people saying, I'm not really like them, and not wanting to be pigeonholed into the same box. And so we have a lot of variables in our time right now that make it a little bit harder for the Muslims to come together. And many of them being external, being the rest of society's acceptance of the Muslims, and that makes it even a little bit more challenging. And so I think we have our work cut out for us, but they do, I'm on the board of the Emerald Project, and I do help out as much as I can, but I'm certainly not one to take credit for the work that they're doing. They are working really hard on a very, very important mission.
Are they mostly based here, or both over in Islam too? Because you do a lot of traveling. Is it for the nonprofit, or is it just gonna go see your family and stuff in Jordan?
Yeah, So the Emerald Project is primarily in Salt Lake City right now. Mm-hmm.
So in a situation, how many Muslims are there in Salt Lake City?
I don't know the actual number.
Because we've been lucky enough with our studio here, working with a friend of ours to do a Tongan-based show here, and to kind of reach out to communities. And the beauty of digital life is that regardless of how small you are, you can have something, a podcast, TV show, whatever, that can bring people together, let people know about the commonality.
So that's something that Ahmad, actually, we learn. I'm taking a digital marketing class right now from him, and we talk about this all the time, and which is another reason why it's awesome to have these teachers at Salt Lake Community College that are living what they're teaching, and they're teaching it because they love it, not because they necessarily have to.
Well, the internet can be a double-edged sword. It's a great way of providing good, solid information that bring people together, and it's also a great way to disseminate falsehood, lies, prejudice, and a lot of other crap.
Mm-hmm.
So within those constraints, how do you get the good out of the internet and eliminate some of the bad?
I don't know that we can eliminate the bad with the way that most social media is set up right now. Social media wants to give the listener what they want, or the viewer what they want, and if you want leftist ideas, then that's all you're getting, and you're getting further left. And then if you want rightist ideas, then that's what you're getting. And
we have one host who fantasizes about burning at night, and we know who she is.
She's in our class.
Oh, okay. Oops. Yeah, well, if you go into if we go into a woman's house and she's got full-length Bernie posters, that's a bad sign.
We have, yeah.
We might be on the fringe.
He did win Utah.
He won Utah, and God bless. And you probably guess from the way our conversations are going, we probably want someone to beat the Red Hats in the fall. But misinformation, we have so much of it out there. And an example of that is a couple of years ago, a guy who was a right-wing Trump fan listened to the stories about Hillary Clinton having sex slaves in the basement of a pizza restaurant I forget what they were doing there, and this guy showed up with a high-powered rifle, and he believed the crap that was coming on, and so when you have dumb people out there believing stuff that's so fringe, that's got to be frustrating, and even good information can't overcome dumb people with bad information.
Yeah, I mean that is a problem that we have, and realistically, there is not enough accountability on the people that are giving out that information. I don't think we have much of a need to verify or fact check anything. I have some friends who are Trump supporters, and we have had conversations about certain things, and the conversations that we have had haven't, in fact, to a point where I stopped having some of these conversations with some people because I didn't feel like they're based on common sense. They're not based on any, there's just, they're so emotionally charged that it's, I don't think they're willing. I think at the end of the day, they're going to come back to me and say, well, you probably know more than I do on this, but you definitely don't know more than Fox News. And so I'm still going to trust what I trust, even though I don't know enough. And it feels like if they have that type of mentality, it's going to be very difficult for people to want to overcome their prejudice or their information.
And the problem in this country with free speech is we give a lot of latitude to people sprouting just horrible. And Doug Jones, or I forget the guy's name, who finally there's some accountability there, but he's one of the people that said that some of these school massacres, including the one in Connecticut, is fake news. Mm-hmm. And that is so frustrating.
Right.
That people are allowed to spew that and continue under the guise of the First Amendment, continue to do that.
That is very frustrating. It is probably one of the biggest challenges we face because we don't, again, there is not enough accountability for what you say. And people are saying, "Oh, yeah, I said it wrong," or something, and getting away with it at worst. So we have kind of a general system that allows for somebody to kind of attack the person that produces any type of news, and then first deny the accusation, even if it's accurate, then attack the person, and then shift the narrative, and then wait for it to go away. And it seems to be just systematically the response taken towards anything that is somewhat controversial. So we're not really addressing an issue or digging deep into an issue. It feels like we're dealing with a whole lot of just inch-deep theories that are packed with emotion. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that people don't see that? And is it because they don't want to see it sometimes, maybe? Or just because it's not, they just don't think that way? Or they don't, I don't know. Like, what do you...
There's a book out there called The Righteous Mind that talks about this a little bit. And when it comes to, I guess I'm paraphrasing quite a bit because it's been a while since I've read it, but they say that, or the author argues that if you are talking politics or religion, in many cases with people who don't really study or truly understand what they believe in, you could be talking to a PhD and they would be responding on the level of a third grader. And so enough in your mind just closes to where you're not really listening to anything. You're not really having an intellectual conversation, and that's pretty scary.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and then the other thing, Chalese, is that facts used to matter. Mm-hmm. And in many cases they don't anymore.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we should go to a short break.
Okay, but facts do matter here, and we've got to take a break.
Facts do matter.
We'll be right back. And welcome back to Coffee Talk Tuesday. That's Chalese Stevens. She is our inspirational leader.
Yeah, but I'm not running for president. Never. I'm president of DECA, and that's about as much as it gets. I couldn't go on to the next level because I'm like, whoa, this is too political for me.
You're not 35. That's why you can't run for president.
Oh, no, I'm like 55. I look great, right?
You're 25, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, see, we're going to go on a little tangent for a minute for me.
Okay.
I actually always tell people you should never hide your age. And if not, you should boost up the numbers, because at that point you look really good for being old. If I was 55 right now, which I'm not, but I am 41. I'm not going to lie about my age. 41, right here.
You're 41?
I'm 41.
My God. My contention is that even if Mother Teresa was told that she looks younger, she'd buy it. So it is so inherent on women that, and take a woman's age, whatever you think it is, and subtract 15 years, which is awkward if a girl's 12, but it doesn't work.
But when you're younger, you don't want to be like my 12-year-old. She wants to look like she's 15. It's always like that.
Danger.
I know, right? I know. Anyway, let's get back to Ahmad. So, I want to veer off a little bit and talk about why you are what made you choose to be an instructor at Salt Lake Community College. But you don't just teach there; you teach at BYU, and that's it, right? Just the two,
and Utah State.
And Utah State. I knew there was another one.
Could you list the schools you don't teach at? It might be easier. I can't hold a job. You have to teach at 3 schools.
There's that too.
How is it to teach at BYU?
It's great. It's great. I've had a great time teaching at BYU. I teach 3rd and 4th year students in the advertising program, which is one of the best programs in the country. And so they're very well prepared and very passionate, and the projects are usually really exciting, which Chalese's class is going to be.
It'll be fun.
Coordinating with one of our classes at BYU.
What have you learned so far?
Not to have any more teachers on my show. No, I'm just kidding.
Because the cool thing is BYU is one of the best business schools in the country, and it's tied in with the Harvard Graduate School. Be it professor, there's a lot of stuff going on between those two. I mean, and that's as good as you get.
He's also taking. Are you still taking classes?
No,
from
I
Harvard?
graduated.
Oh, you graduated. Yeah. He graduated from Harvard.
Oh. Okay.
This is why. Let me tell you. So this is what I love about Salt Lake Community College is that I get teachers like this that they care about their students, and I do believe that it is different than just, I don't know, BYU, but just a normal university. It's not, they don't have that, because I went to University of Utah for a little while, and I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's a completely different experience here, and there's so much hands-on, and there's so much of that, like, I feel that everybody wants you to be successful, and they're going to go above and beyond to make that happen. And that's what I've learned so much, because I've been able to do projects. We just did in our marketing class a couple weeks ago, we did a social media platform for rainy days because it was a student's, nonprofit, and we got to do that. So I was able to get my students, or the people in my class, and we made a marketing platform, and I did it, and it was super awesome. And you can't do that everywhere you go. No. I've actually had a friend tell me that he's taking some classes in another college, and I don't remember which one he's going to right now, but they don't let him use anything in real life.
So it has to be all.
It has to be all.
What school did you graduate from at Harvard?
So I did a Master in Liberal Arts in Management.
Oh, wow. Liberal Arts and Management.
In Management, no. So Master of Liberal Arts in the field of management.
Oh, fantastic. Because, when you get down to it having that Harvard degree, it gives you a little cachet in life. Do you own a Harvard T-shirt?
Yes. Several.
Okay. Yeah. 99.8% of people wear them have never been near Cambridge, but it gives you a little cachet. So in a situation where you're working with students at the community college, do you find the same level of engagement, enthusiasm as you do at BYU and Utah State?
I don't think that's a fair comparison. At BYU, I'm teaching students who really worked hard to get into the program. So after their admission into BYU, they had to go through another set of admissions into that particular program. Their third and fourth year classes. At Salt Lake Community College, we have students in the first and second year, and so that we have a different type of student. I would say that the students at BYU generally are a little bit more disciplined, and I think they're just a little bit better prepared in terms of soft skills. I don't think they're smarter than the students at Salt Lake Community College by any means. And this is
what do you mean by soft skills?
Their emails are a little bit more professional. Their teamwork, their leadership, the way they communicate with each other. These are all significantly stronger at BYU than they are at Salt Lake Community College. But this is something that we are trying to fix at Salt Lake Community College. So I am part of a design team for the School of Business that is talking about that issue, that particular issue. And so we've done quite a bit of research to try to get everybody, at least in the School of Business, to recognize some of these things and to try to incorporate into curricula some of these
Is teaching at one school or another more rewarding for you?
Not really. I think there are different rewards that you get from different schools. In Salt Lake Community College, you get sometimes, so I teach the Intro to Marketing class, and it's very nice to start seeing people grow a passion for marketing, and it's very nice to start seeing people actually, make some connections or get into understanding what learning can actually help them with in their own lives. With BYU, I'm being challenged a little bit more, and there's a different type of reward when you're, working together on creating something that's a little bit bigger. And so, I would say different rewards. Yeah.
I forgot the question that I was going to ask you. I had one, and then I got distracted. So you also have a marketing, you're not just doing this because you're teaching, you also have a marketing company of your own, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
So Twistlab Marketing is a company that I founded while I was at BYU, so over 20 years ago now. And it's the start of it was actually somewhat interesting. So I graduated not even a year after September 11th, and it was very challenging to find a job. So in fact, one of my clients now at Twistlab is my career advisor at BYU. We got really, really close, and did I don't know how many versions of the resume of my resume, and I mean to the point where let's try all caps, let's try this, let's try. I mean, I went back so many times to try to do different. Do you
think
things.
Inherently it was prejudiced?
I wasn't getting an interview, so I believe there was a little bit of that, and at some point I feel like he believed that too. In fact, he recommended that I remove my name, just put my first initial and last name, and that way it wouldn't be as obvious. And I started doing that. I went home and I, changed that on the header and started working down. But a little bit of my experience was in Jordan, was in Middle Eastern countries, and so I got there and I just decided that I don't want to change who I am. I mean, if somebody doesn't want to hire me because they're prejudiced, then I don't want to fool them into hiring me and then find out.
And you show up for that first interview. Yeah.
So anyway, at the time I was I think I must have sprained my ankle or something, and went into, I don't remember something in my foot, but I went to a doctor's office, and I started it was a private practice, and I started giving them ideas on what to do to get more business. A couple of days later, he calls me and leaves a voicemail on my cell phone, and it was the weirdest voicemail ever. He says, "Ahmed, Ricky." I don't know what that means, but and then he says, "This is Dr. Miller. Give me a call." And freaked me out, of course, when I saw that voicemail.
Yeah, you never want to get a call from your doctor. It's not good.
Yeah, waiting for a sprained ankle.
It's never. You are the healthiest person in the world. You are going to live to 140.
Right.
So I've never gotten one of those.
Yeah. But when I called him, he said, "Listen, I'm a doctor. I'm not a marketer." And so I was like, well, I did start this company, and so might as well try it. And so he was my first client post-graduation.
Were you able to help his business quite a bit?
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's funny because Chris, my partner, works for a company called Maui Mastermind, which is a consulting company that specializes in doctors.
Yeah. With
a practice between $500,000 and $5 million a year.
Wow. Yeah.
So you have that expertise.
Yes, that's that actually would describe him very well. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to talk after the show.
Yeah. And Ahmad also writes for Forbes now is it mostly through Twistlab? Is that, or also just individually as well now?
Well,
or you just put that?
I guess my byline and the reason they take me seriously is because of Twistlab. I guess I'm the contributor, not Twistlab, but it is because of Twistlab. Yeah.
Well, and I've read that. I used to subscribe to both Forbes and Fortune. That's when I realized that I had too much money and maybe cut back. You don't need to subscribe to both.
So I'd like to ask you a question because I have heard your podcast so far, and I think that you're talking about people who are making differences in the community, but you haven't really told us about the difference that you're making in the community, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story.
It's my research. He always has a research question. He's really good at questions.
It's always good to have one in your back pocket.
Well, what I'm doing and, what I want to do with this podcast in particular is make sure that people are understanding that there's all different kinds of ways that you can make a difference in the community and be a support. And what I'm doing is, hopefully with this podcast, that's part of what I'm doing, but also with my nonprofit and working with kids with congenital heart disease and their families and giving them support and a little bit of hope and light in order to just get through the day sometimes. And it's amazing what a little bit of effort can do to make such a big difference. And I never realized I was doing it because I would just do it because that's me. Like I just love people, and I love being a part of something that's bigger than me. And it helps me heal as well, because from, losing my son and everything, it doesn't ever go away, but I get to do something with it that's bigger than who I ever thought that I could be. And it's all in the little things. There's nothing big about that. And that's why I love having the nonprofit. I love speaking with people like you and making, because it inspires me to help inspire others. And so that's hopefully what I ultimately do. If nothing else, I'm, hopefully leaving a story with my book coming out. Let's plug that.
So, plugging your book is a big part of the podcast industry.
It
that
is.
Might fuel 83% of it.
Right?
If there were no
That's
books,
kinda what-
we wouldn't have guests. So. Ahmad, when's your next book coming out?
I do not have a book coming out.
Oh, so I've got one author and one
He
slacker.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So let's talk about when your book is coming out.
Well, we're having our big launch party on May 16th, so it's still, we're going to actually do a really cool lead up to my book launch and have some guests on the show that have really inspired the whole journey for me too. So it'll be cool.
Why should I read your book?
Because I'm awesome. I'm just kidding. No, you should read my book because it doesn't only help with people who've lost their children. I mean, it is about my journey through losing my son, but it's not just about that. It's also, we all go through trauma. We all go through tragedy in our own way. It doesn't always have to be as devastating as losing a child, but we've all been through something that's really hard to get through. And my book has become just the story of a mom who lost her son, but also inspires other people to just keep going no matter what they're doing. And everybody heals differently, and everybody goes through their trials differently. And I've got some really dark pieces in it that I don't talk about normally, or that people would never even guess that I've been through. But without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's not the same story that you're going to have, or that, another mom's going to have, or whatever. We all have our own story, but it's okay. And hopefully, reading this book will inspire people to just keep going, and sometimes maybe just, hug your loved ones a little bit harder that day. So,
It's good as answer as I can get. Thank you so much for being on the show.
thank you, Ahmad.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. If you want to reach out to Chalese, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can go to my website, chalesetalks.com. Coffeetalk.com will be up and running soon, but right now, chalesetalks.com.
So if you've got some ideas and anything that could, great guests in the future, we'd love to have you reach out.
Yep.
Ahmad, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
All right.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.